Welcome to Biohacking with Brittany, a podcast focused on holistic health, nutrition, biohacking, and more. I'm your host, Brittany Ford, registered holistic nutritionist and self-proclaimed biohacker. During the last 10 years, I've focused on healing my gut and hormonal issues through lifestyle changes, nutrition, and of course, biohacks. And now I teach others to do the same. I'm so excited you're joining me today, so let's dive right in. All right, welcome to another episode of Biohacking with Brittany. This one is going to be super fun, chill, but educational at the same time. I have a good friend of mine, a fellow female biohacker, Katie Moore, with me on the show today, otherwise known as Katie Type A. She is a YouTuber and a podcaster. She does consulting work and she's a biohacker. And I'm just so excited about this because it's really nice to just talk to another female biohacker. So, Katie, welcome.
Oh, I could not agree enough about the, kind of getting biohackers together because I think we all kind of live in these like isolated regions, like in the world. Like I'm in Hawaii, you're in Canada. I've got friends in California, New York, and so it's just really great to get together and kind of just collab and talk about all the crazy things that we're doing in our life right now.
Yes, I totally agree. I really want, future plan,
Mm.
create a female biohacking retreat in like Costa Rica. And then everyone who's into biohacking who identifies as a female can come and we can all actually meet in person.
100,000%. I have been thinking, like brainstorming on that idea since like before my channel started. I was just like, as I started to get into some more health and wellness products, I was like, who can I talk to about this? And like none of my
Mhm.
actual like close friends were doing it. My family still thinks I'm crazy. So I don't really have a ton of people. But the other thing too is like it would be not only great for like the collaboration and meeting people and talking about experiences, but even if you had like the opportunity to test out things, like that's what's so great about the
Mm.
the biohacking conference, right? Like you go and then they have all these crazy expensive machines you could never afford to buy yourself that you can try. And I love that. So absolutely sign me up. I think
Yeah,
that's a great idea.
let's do it.
Let's do it.
And we can have all types of biohacking tech and who knows what else there. Maybe some ayahuasca. I don't
I
know.
haven't done
I'm
that yet.
yeah. Oh, me too. Me too. But it'd be such a trip. It'd be so cool.
Yeah, literal trip.
Yeah. Yeah. So how did you I don't even think I know this story. Like, how did you first get into
You
biohacking?
don't know this story because I haven't talked about it.
Okay.
This is so funny. It's like when I started my channel, I kind of went in creating more of this like hodgepodge of different videos on how to live your life healthier and better. And it wasn't until I think like maybe 3 or 4 months into making videos that I really switched over to product reviews. And then I realized there's been a huge gap in like the last 2 years of making videos where I've never really talked about my personal health journey. And
Mhm.
I do have some plans to talk about it in the works, but it's complicated like most things in life. I was in my 20s and I started to develop brain fog and I had chronic stress that was absolutely debilitating to the point where like I had insomnia, I started taking sleeping aids. I was burnt out. I got fired from my job at SoulCycle because I was so stressed and I didn't know how to like manage my stress levels, and I felt like I had hit rock bottom. And I think the crazy thing now is like listening to a lot of other biohackers in the space or people who have kind of come into the health and wellness world really do talk about having these like really low points in their lives. Even Tony Robbins like was homeless and then, went through a huge struggle, and I went through my own kind of form of struggle for probably my mid to late 20s, a couple of years there. And I'll never forget like the moment I discovered biohacking, which I think is one of the reasons why I've been such a huge proponent of, Dave Asprey and really the kind of the bulletproof mantra. But I was listening to this podcast, I think it was like with James Altucher. It was something really random, interviewing Dave Asprey about brain health. And so I was
Mm.
starting a new job. I wanted to be smart, and I felt like everything was so tough and difficult. And I was having a hard time just feeling like my brain was working. And so I listened to this podcast. He started talking about all these things I had never heard of. So, mind you, this is like almost 3.5 years ago. Nootropics, keto diet, like putting butter in your coffee. These things are totally normal to us now. We do them all the time. But at that point in my life, when I was
Mhm.
still eating the quote unquote standard American diet and I didn't know anything about actually taking care of my health because I just listened to the doctors and that was it. I heard that podcast and I was like, you know what? I'm desperate. I need to change something in my life because whatever I'm doing is not working. And in that moment, my fiance and I both were like, let's just try it. And then we did, and it was hugely successful. And I feel like I've always kind of wanted
Mm.
that like limitless, like NZT 48 pill. And it certainly wasn't that. And I probably have spent thousands on supplements that I didn't need. But I think the point was that it was a rabbit hole, right? It was
Mm.
not just, oh, the bulletproof, roadmap changed my life. Absolutely not. It was the catalyst to get me thinking differently about my health. And so it was, a couple of years of then listening to all of these podcasts, basically consuming every single piece of content out there on biohacking, which there was not a lot out there at the time.
Mhm.
Like it was like Luke's story, Ben Greenfield, and Dave. But I listened to every episode and I started looking into other modalities, red light therapy, cold plunges, hot infrared saunas. And I just started to transform my life from that moment on. And then I did have a series of, you know, really difficult family things that happened to me. And I don't really like to talk about them per se, just because
Mhm.
it's hard. It still is emotional. But like I lost my dad a year
Mhm.
ago to ALS, and then my
Mm.
fiance lost his dad to cancer in November. And honestly, Brittany, like to see two men in their late 50s, early 60s just go like that, because
Yeah.
of health related issues that possibly could have been, not, obviously mitigated, but like maybe it wouldn't have been as severe or happened as quickly had they taken better care of their health way earlier on. And so
Mhm.
my mission from like those two experiences has really been, how do I inform people how to take better care of their health? How do I help them really understand the importance of taking, your biology into your own hands and whatever that looks like. And you can start small, and it's something, even just sleeping better, eating better, like meditating, doing those little pieces over time will actually have a huge result. It did for me. And so my that's really my mission, is just like, how can I help other people not have to go through what I went through?
Mhm. Yeah, I'm really sorry to hear about that happening in your family. And I understand. I understand the attraction to optimal health.
Mhm.
And also like how do you educate the people closest to you about that without sounding like totally woo woo and totally nuts.
Yeah.
Um and I think I found biohacking right around the same time as you. I like mine was 2018, like early 2018.
Mhm.
Um, and kind of similar, like it was not very popular at the time. And I almost just didn't even know where to start. Like it kind of felt overwhelming when I was like listening to the few podcasts that were out there, like nootropics and red light therapy. And I was like, wow, this is like a lot to handle. Like I don't even know where to start. But I really, really like agreed with the philosophy of biohacking. And that's kind of what has kept me through it. And it kind of sounds like it's like similar with you.
Mhm.
Um, But, like, your attraction to, like, this type of way of, like, being and thinking, do you think that's primarily, like, nature-based, or is it more nurture-based in your case?
Oh, that's a great question. And I think it is very much in my nature. So, the
Mm,
reason why I branded myself as, Katie type A was very deliberate. Like, I am super type A. I've been that way my entire life. I've always been like, where's the microphone? Can I take it? Like since I was a kid, I would go up to people at parties. I was like 4 or 5. I would go over to the older people's table and I'd like sing them a song, and like I love to entertain. I love to talk to people, and most importantly, like I love to hear people's stories and be educated
mm.
and then educate others. Like I knew I was never really cut out to be a teacher because I don't have that great of a patience. Like my sister who has the patience of a saint, and I commend her, but it was like that was never really kind of my goal in life. But I knew there was a part of me that was just like I love to learn so much. I love research. I love writing. I did dabble, obviously, into the journalism thing, which I've talked about a lot. And that was a tough field. That was a hard
Mhm.
point in my life where I was doing what I thought I everybody kind of was expecting me to do, right? Like, okay, so you basically like to learn, you like to research, you like to write, and you want to be on camera. Cool, go do journalism. And so I started in radio and TV in New York, and I was fresh out of college, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to just take the bull by the horns, and I'm going to just become something. And then very quickly after leaving college and going into hard news, I was like, this is not the stuff I want to be talking about at all. Like,
Mm,
this is not part of what's making me feel fulfilled. The In addition to the hours just being absolutely insane. I don't know how journalists do it, but you are just chasing stories left and right. You are going to every like house that's burning down and you're talking to the families, and I just felt like that was not at all in alignment with what made me feel fulfilled as an individual or person. Like there was something very very wrong about like going to a funeral and waiting outside to talk to the parents who were grieving. Like I had a couple of moments
yeah.
in that time period where I was like, I can't do this anymore. But that fire inside me to continue to still do that type of work was there. I just needed to figure out a way to actually apply it to something that mattered to me and something that would
Right.
light me up. And that is when the YouTube, kind of life sort of started, where I was like, I can do everything I like and talk about the things that matter and make my own content. Like this is insane. So yeah, I think it's definitely, to kind of come back to your answer. I know that was very long winded, but I think it's multifaceted, right? Like I've always kind of naturally been that way, but then over time I realized that like I do have a skill set, but I just needed to apply it in the right
Mhm.
way.
Mhm. Yeah, and, like, you've applied it to YouTube and your podcast, and yeah, it's cool to kinda, like, see that, and because like, those platforms are obviously online, you're able to reach more people.
Hmm.
So, like, where do you go from here now? Like, you kind of took out of like, you left kind of the corporate world, and now
Hmm.
you're doing the biohacking thing, digital nomad, living in Hawaii, like, living the dream, honestly. But yeah, like what do the next few years like like for you?
Yeah, it's one of those things where I don't exactly have the 5-year plan etched out perfectly. I have a
Mhm.
couple of big goals that I want to hit. I mean, I know this is absolutely insane, but I want to hit 50,000 subscribers by the end of the year. And
Nice.
just because I needed to kind of set some type of data point for me to be able to measure
Mhm.
against. And then from there, the next 5 years is going to be, well, how can I be able to afford to kind of live this lifestyle, of working digitally? Because like for a very long time, and even up until now, like am not making money off the channel. Like I spend a lot more money on buying products and resources and all of that than I do on actually making money. So that's
Mhm.
tough, right? Like I have to think
Yeah.
of myself as kind of an entrepreneur who is just, trying to use the medium of YouTube and podcasting to really get my message out. And that has always been like 100% my mission, and I will not sell out, and I do not sell out. And so anytime I decide to like partner with another company, it's got to be totally in alignment with where my brand is going. But yeah, I mean, I think either doing some type of, work on creating a company, or doing something way bigger than just YouTube, and really creating this kind of type A framework brand to do retreats and to do kind of meetups. And I want to touch more people, and I think through YouTube is a great and fast way to do that. But I do also want to make some really intimate connections with people, and do much more work on the consulting front and on talking to people one on one, and then write a book about it. So I have a lot of
Mm.
like um, you know milestones that I need to hit in the next few years, but that's just kind of a little peek at what some of those are. But yeah, I mean, I think just like I've kind of learned in life, you never can predict what's going to happen, and you just have to be
Yeah.
ready to kind of, you know, take on an opportunity when it arises.
Yeah, I love that. One of the biggest things that attracted me to biohacking, and especially now female biohacking, is how it is not saturated at all.
Hmm.
Like there is very, very few voices right now in this space. So creating a business, creating a consulting business, a retreat business, whatever it is in this space, like you could do it now and blow up and just stick with it for 5 years and really, really reap the rewards because you're such an early adopter.
That
So I love that.
that's
I love
such
it.
a great point. And what's crazy, Brittany, though, is that like you get your metrics for YouTube, and I like do realize that I am kind of in a very small pool of people who are doing a lot of very targeted biohacking videos on YouTube, but the
Mhm,
majority of my audience is men. And
mhm,
so that makes me question, like, why are more women not interested in this? And I don't really have the answer to that, but I think that there is definitely going to be a shift, and I think we're starting to see it happen. But I
yeah,
don't understand why there aren't more women thinking and talking about these kind of issues like you and I. Or maybe there are, and they're just going about it through a different platform, maybe, I
mhm,
that that I'm not aware of. So yeah, I mean, I just that's my I don't know if you have any like stat, you know
mhm.
info, but like, yeah, I thought that was crazy.
Yeah, yeah. So on Instagram, I'm almost 50-50, but I think I might be like 60-40 woman.
Hmm.
So I'm slightly more female based on Instagram. But my podcast is more male based, my
Hmm.
listeners. The last time I checked, which was a while ago, but still. And I think it's male dominated, or we think it's male dominated because of the leaders, right? So like the people you already like mentioned earlier, like Dave Asprey, Ben Greenfield, like these are like two Caucasian
Mm.
men around the same age. I'm assuming. I don't know how old they are. Same with Luke Story. Same like so. We're the people who are kind of like leading this force are all kind of the same. So that's like something that I was going to bring up later, but we can definitely talk about is like I have a bit of an issue with like the lack of diversity in biohacking. And it's even bigger than biohacking, like even the wellness space too. And I've started to actually look for somebody to bring on the podcast to talk about this because it's very like, I don't know, you kind of look around and everyone looks the same. And like biohacking, it's very male dominant. And like, how do we get more female led companies that are leading the way? And also, like, ethnicity as well is a massive issue too.
I totally 100,000% agree. And as a female who is trying to kind of like take a charge in this space, and I know you are too, and like it's people like you as well who are creating companies that are, completely female founded, and, actually taking a stab at this industry. I mean, I think we are kind of going to be, I hate calling myself an influencer, but I'm definitely not, but like we are going to have an influence on the space. I'm sure of it.
Hmm.
I think
Hmm.
like a lot of the paradigm is shifting as we're seeing some of them getting older. And it's just a matter of, you know, I I question it all the time. Like, why is it that just, this kind of set group of people are always the ones that are kind of raising their hand? And I think like it's going to be, a small shift and small change over time that we're going to start to see more women emerge. And it actually gives me more fuel, to be completely honest. Like
Mhm.
seeing all of even my like YouTubing guy friends, they're, my quote unquote male predecessors. I'm kind of blowing them out of the water at this point on YouTube.
Good.
And I hope they're not listening, but like they know it. And so, that's kind of showing me, okay, so I can play in this male dominated industry just like you guys, and I can
Yeah.
win. And it's all about like, nailing kind of these search terms and understanding like what people actually want to see. Because if you're producing content that's good and you care about what you're doing and you've got a passion about it and you are smart and you're educated, like I believe that you will win in this space. It's just it
Mhm.
might not happen overnight. But I
Yeah.
I certainly believe that even like in the space of YouTube or in the space of media, it is always kind of had this male dominated ethos to
Mm.
it. So
Mhm.
that needs to change. And I'm really hoping that we're going to see something in the next 3 to 5 years where either more companies that are women driven start to emerge and really just kind of knock things out of the water, or more women start to emerge in the media space, like
Yeah.
biohacking Brittany, and like
Yeah.
myself, who are really, people that they can turn to because they believe us and because we do our research and we are informed and going to educate people in the way that they want to be educated.
Yeah, I totally agree. Um, and kind of like what I said earlier, like one of the reasons I was attracted to biohacking in the beginning was because of the lack of females. So, from a business perspective, I knew that if I got in early and created something, and even the same with like MFEs right now, like if I get in early and I am the only person doing this or the only female or like one of the only, like this is going to benefit my career. And I will be able to impact more people and help more people faster compared to placing myself in type of like a wellness or like just nutrition, which is so saturated with women, right? Like, so I mean, it's good and it's bad at the same time, but I really, really I want to see females. Like I want to see females that I can look up to who are 10 years ahead of me in their biohacking career. And right now, like I don't really see anybody like that. Like everyone who I know who's a female in biohacking is pretty much around the same spot that I am, maybe a few years ahead in
Hmm.
terms of career, like not age or anything. Um, so I want to see the leaders. Like I want to see the leaders who are in their 50s, in their 60s, whatever. So like they have all of that experience. But anyway, that's my kind of like thing I'm thinking about
No, I love
lately.
it, and I agree, and I think, like, there are definitely like, I follow some women who do some aspect, like, 1 or 2
Mm,
aspects of the biohacking. So, for example, a great person, is, like, Amy Killen. So she is part of Docere Clinics, and she does, like, peptides and stem cells and all that kinda stuff, and,
mhm,
she's also in the sort of, like, Dave Asprey sphere. So she's actually somebody that gets a lot of press. She's always on a lot of summits. JJ Version is very similar.
yeah.
So there are definitely some of them, but they're much like not much older, but they're definitely a couple of years our senior. And you're
Mhm,
not getting kind of these fresh-faced, younger biohacking females right now
mhm,
talking about this kind of stuff in a larger platform, right? So
mhm,
yeah, I mean, it's funny because that when you just said that, like it brought me back to when I first started YouTube, and I was actually really scared because I was looking at just the overall competition on YouTube, and I was like, I can't compete in this market. But there was one particular content creator who is a photographer and also a kind of male dominated niche, but her name is Lizzie Pierce, and she made this great video where she said like, I basically want to be the woman that girls can look up to and believe that if they have that power to do it, they're going to do it. They're going to step
Mhm.
up, and they're, going to basically embrace who they are, female or not, and just produce great content. And so at the end of the day, yes, these are definitely big issues and they certainly do need to be talked about, but it does not take me away from focusing on what my mission is, and that is to
Yeah.
produce the best quality content I can. And if you're a man or you're a woman or somewhere in between, like, I don't care. I just want to be able to hopefully resonate with somebody out there. And my mission has always been like, if I can just touch one person, and one person does, like, changes their sleep, and that ends up changing the trajectory of their life because they just sort of go down that rabbit hole like me, then my mission has been fulfilled.
Yeah. I love that. And I think you're totally right. And I think where I like what I would like to see soon, and I don't know if this will actually happen, but I would love to actually see these male leaders talking about this.
Mm,
Like, not talking about female health, which they do,
mhm.
which is totally fine, but actually addressing the issue of lack of diversity in the space. Um, like, where is that discussion? And they have access to like all types of experts, right? And I just haven't seen it. I haven't seen this conversation in public. I haven't seen it on a podcast. I haven't seen it anywhere. But that's kind of what I'm looking for. So maybe if I ever meet Dave, which I'm sure I will, because I live close to him, I'm gonna ask him,
Yes, you
see what he
should. You should just like
see
go,
what he says.
yeah, go to the new like biohacking lab that's like in Victoria and just like
Yeah,
wait there until he gets there and you're like, okay, I've got a
yeah,
question for you. Been thinking about this for about 3.5 years.
yeah. Oh my gosh,
Can you
so
imagine?
funny.
I mean,
And
hey,
I'll
the next
yeah.
biohacking conference, like maybe you could be part of the summit that talks about this.
Yeah, and I'll just get somebody to record him, like, almost like paparazzi showing up, like, with a microphone in his face.
Oh my God, this is totally gonna go viral.
It would be, oh man, probably not the best way to start our
Mm,
our friendship.
yeah, I know. It's like, okay, well, that's one way to get famous.
Yeah, yeah, oh my god,
But
hilarious.
it's a great point, and I would love to know their honest thoughts, like off the cuff,
Yes,
and maybe
yes,
even in a non-formal setting. Like I say, I joke that the biohacking conference, but it's going to be so vetted, and it's going to be like everyone has a script. Like
mhm,
I want to see the unscripted version of somebody sitting down and just saying, "Okay, ask me anything." And I think
mhm,
if there's an opportunity for Dave to do like an Instagram live, ask me anything. I think that would be a great kind of time to see what he
mhm.
really has to say without preparing anything ahead of time.
Mhm. Yeah, the one time that I did talk to him about it was in his Facebook group, and he said that most of his followers on Instagram were female, I think it was. And like that was his response to it, which is fine, but like it's not about like the followers or the people interested in biohacking, it's about the leaders and the female-led companies in biohacking that are not really there right now.
Absolutely. And we
Um
all know that Instagram is kind of, more female dominated anyway. So that's not
yeah.
really proving anything,
Yeah.
because the same thing with my statistics, it's like many more females are on that platform, which is also a great impetus for me to be like, okay, cool. Well, knowing that, then that should be a great
Mhm.
outlet for me to start building. It's just taken me a long time to get, you know, above water with that because it's
Mhm.
such a saturated industry or the
Yes.
platform.
Platform. Yeah.
So maybe Clubhouse is a good place. And you kind of
Yeah.
inspired me to get back on there. I think we should start like a women biohacking chat room or something.
Yeah. Yeah, there is one already, that I'm a part of, and I would love for you to join.
Yeah.
It's on, Wednesdays at 9 a.m. PST, and I can definitely invite you to that because that would be amazing. But moving forward, what biohacks are you wanting to try that you haven't tried yet?
Oh my God, there are so many. Well, first off, I really, really want to do like stem cell therapy, but that is
Oh my
so expensive.
gosh.
I do not have the capital for that right now.
Yeah.
But I've got a lot of like joint pain that has really taken its toll over the years. I'm in my early 30s. But I've been really active, and so I've heard about all these people who have done stem cells, and it's really helped with mobility. And then also, I think, like, I know you just did like PRP. I've been also thinking about doing that.
Oh,
Really cool
yes.
stuff. So,
Yeah.
that's on my list. I definitely wanna do more in the way of, like, PMFs, because
Mm,
I have tried there was, like, this one amazing, but it was, like, $100,000, like, machine at Bulletproof Labs that is called, like, the Pulse Centers, and it was the most intense couple of minutes laying on it, because, you're feeling the, uh pulsed electromagnetic frequencies all throughout your body. And it basically is like targeting sources of inflammation. So you feel it, and then you walk off and you're like, wow, that was insane. I can't believe that just happened. And so I'd love to get my hands on something like that to really fully test and understand like how long it works, like what is the mechanism of action. Because it's really hard when you just do something once, right? Even hyperbaric,
mhm.
that's another thing. Like there's a place in Kona, Hawaii, that I'm looking into doing some hyperbaric training at, but the pricing is so astronomical. That
Yeah.
is a huge issue for me right now with the biohacking world. So many of these things are just kind of untouchable because they're so expensive.
Yeah.
And so hyperbaric would be something. I'd say altitude training, and I would love to do, like, I know that they have at like the upgrade labs, like some of these like cool pods where you end up doing more of this kind of like meditative, almost like a flotation sort of device, except you're not in water. I'd love to really give those a fair shot, and kind of see what it's like to sort of immerse yourself into this sort of like uh, artificial intelligence virtual kind of experience where you really can kind of tap into your like higher emotional state of
Mhm.
being. So yeah, those are some of the things that are like big ticket items for me.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. A lot of what you touched upon, I actually haven't done myself. I was just looking at stem cell therapy this morning because I got sent an article about somebody who does it and flies down to Mexico to get it done. Um, I don't know like the regulations around it. Like I'm not an expert at all. Like I think it's pretty hard right now to actually get it done, from what I understand. But it's so interesting. Like, and I think about how you can take stem cells from an umbilical cord, like when you have a baby. And I was just reading, and there's actually a place, like a organization in Canada, that you can actually freeze your umbilical cord and like keep it in a place and use your stem cells in the future. And I was like, wow, like that is so cool, because then you can just like put them back into your body and like I don't know, like I'm not at that point yet, but I just find that type of thing fascinating. And I definitely think I will be doing stem cells in the next few years.
Oh, absolutely. Because right now, I think they take them from another source, or,
Yeah.
and this is
Yeah.
actually crazy. Because so about a year ago, I got all four of my wisdom teeth taken out, and I had made the proposition to my fiance. I was like, "So I know there's stem cells, like when they take it out, can we freeze those?" And he's like, "No, that is way
Oh
too
my gosh.
expensive." And he's like, it's like not. I don't think it'd be worth it, but it was definitely like something that crossed my mind when I was getting my. I was like, "How can we make the most of this in a biohacking way? Let's freeze the stem cells from my wisdom teeth." He's like, "Okay, no, no, no. We're gonna hold off on stem cell issue for a couple more years, and hopefully by then it'll become a little bit more economically feasible too, because
Hmm.
with a lot of these things the cost is going to come down over time. Right
Yeah.
now it's like everything that's hot and new is super expensive, and that is one of the things that makes this hobby, so to speak, challenging too.
I want to pause this episode briefly to talk to you about emphies. So, if you've been following me for a while now, you know that this is something that I have really been pouring myself into, to develop for you. Emphies are healthier underwear for women made by women. They protect against EMF, radiation, and bacteria. And they do that through the type of fabric that I'm using. I've started going to sewing classes and pattern making private lessons in order to make sure that these are very modern, comfy and cute and not granny panties, unlike the couple of options on the market right now. So this is super important. The underwear protects the female reproductive parts, specifically the ovaries, from all of the radiation that's around us. So in our car, from Bluetooth, from our phone, from computers, from Wi-Fi, all sorts of things. And this matters, right? Like we're learning more and more about how our environment impacts our health, and EMF is tough and radiation is tough because we actually can't see it. So it's kind of one of those things that we just don't necessarily think about because we can't like visually see it on a day-to-day basis, but that does not mean it's not impacting our health. And the science backs this up now. There are countless studies on this, on how EMF can impact fertility, ovulation, pregnancy, also like cancer and mitochondrial health. The ovaries are actually the most dense organ in the body that has mitochondria in it. They have 100,000 mitochondria per cell in the ovaries, like per cell. That is insane. And so we really want to make sure that those little mitochondria are doing their best, are functioning at their best. And we want to block any EMF, any radiation from impacting how they function, because I want women to have healthy cycles and healthy hormones and healthy pregnancy and fertility, and not have further, much more serious complications in the future. So, this underwear helps you get there like one step closer. And so that's exactly why I developed it. And so pre-orders are coming this summer. I'm really excited about it. It's gonna be a lot of fun, and it has been a lot of fun in the months that I have been developing them. So if you're interested in getting on the wait list, the waitlist can be found at biohackingbrittany.com/emfies. That's EMFIES. Super easy. Or you can just go to the link in my Instagram bio. You can just sign up right through there as well. So definitely get on that wait list. It's growing pretty quickly. And everyone on the wait list will have early access to pre orders, which is super important because it's going to be quite a limited quantity to start, I think. So get on the wait list. And yeah, if you have any further feedback, I'm always open to hear what you think and what you're looking for, even product wise. Like, yeah, and a bunch of you have already asked me if I'm going to be creating things for children or for men, which is very interesting. But I think we're going to focus just on the females for now. So get on the wait list, and I look forward to dropping these very soon. Yes. Yeah. No, it's totally like that. Like when I first started biohacking a few years ago, red light therapy was so expensive. Like the devices, there was only really one company that was out there, and that was Juve that was doing
Mhm.
it. And now there's so many red light therapy companies. And like same with nootropics, like so it just takes time for it to kind of like spread, and then the price goes down, and it becomes more accessible to people, which is super important. But it's going to be harder with something like stem cell therapy. But like PRP is even becoming better as well. Like I just did another treatment last week, and it was fantastic. And yeah, I can totally see you doing PRP and doing a review on it. Like it's you gotta try it out.
I know. I just don't like getting my blood drawn. I like pretty much always like pass out. I know this is like so not
Um,
biohacking of me, but it's a little I think it like definitely stems from like one bad childhood experience, because that's really all it takes in life is just one thing to go really wrong when you're like 4 or 5 years old, and then you are scarred for
yeah.
life. So yeah, the whole blood thing on my face, yeah, I'm intrigued, don't get me wrong. I just it's gonna take me a little while to kind of get that stamina up to actually go forward with
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. Yeah, honestly, like I totally hear you. I don't really have an issue with needles or blood or anything. But the results from PRP are really amazing. In terms of like scars and lines and like filling in like dark circles under your eyes, texture, like all sorts of things. So And it's really nice to just use something that comes from your own blood, like the
Mhm.
platelet-rich plasma is what PRP stands for, and it comes from your own blood compared to using something like fillers or Botox or something more synthetic, which is, like, neurotoxic and has other issues. So, I think it's only gonna like, the price is only gonna get lower, and it's gonna become more accessible for everybody.
Yeah, I'm so excited for that. And especially because my skin has changed a lot since moving out here. They don't tell you this
Mm.
in the brochures when you move to Hawaii, but if you've been living, in a kind of colder climate, like say New York or California, you come out here and I feel like I'm a 14-year-old like teenage boy right now. Like I have so much acne, it's not even funny. Like,
Wow.
yeah, I have been breaking out like crazy, and my hair is even like changing. It's like so much more oily than it's ever been. So there's a lot of like actual shifts that are happening to my body as a
Hmm.
result of just changing in like going from one climate to another. So I think like I'm at my wit's end right now. So I'm like I'm kind of at that point where I was a couple of years ago with like my brain health, and now I'm getting there with my skin health where I'm like, I'm kind of desperate for something that's going to actually have an impact. So if you really think PRP is great, I might just have to
Mhm.
find I'm sure there's a place on the island. I might just have to find it and just do it
Yeah.
and close my eyes during the needles.
Yeah, yeah. Have you had your hormones tested recently at all?
About like 6 or 7 months ago. But yeah,
Okay.
it is funny enough, it is a lot of it's happening in the like in the areas right around your jawline, which tend to be more hormonal related. So
Mhm, mhm.
but yeah, I mean, I've been tracking my cycle pretty closely, and I'm trying to get in alignment with the sun, with the not the sun, with the moon, which is always really hard.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, it's kind of the acne has spread elsewhere to kind of like my forehead and my chin as well. So I'm feeling like it's a combination of a couple of different factors. But yeah, this whole environment could be changing my hormones as well, which
Mhm,
is crazy to think that
mhm.
just moving to a new location. But if you think about it, like there's a lot of stress when you're in a toxic city with a lot of EMFs, or just even being in like that high beta state all the time. Is Hawaii's been the first place I feel like I can actually not be stressed all the time. And that's insane. So maybe my body's just like adapting too.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, because I know, like, last year when I had, an acne flare-up for, like, the first time ever in my life, it was exactly those spots of, like, my chin and my forehead,
Mm.
and it was very hormonal based for me, and a lot of people who have an increase in testosterone, like, for whatever reason, that's kind of where they will see that, especially, like, for women too. So if it kinda, like, persists over the next few months, like, I'd recommend getting your hormones tested again and, like, compare them to your first results and see if, like, things have kind of shifted.
Yeah, and I've also been taking a DHA supplement recently.
Oh, that's
And
why.
now I'm like starting to
Oh,
question everything. And yeah, that's okay, cool. What, just out of curiosity, and
yeah.
you can also just like email me later if you don't want to like talk about brand
Mhm,
names, but like where do you normally get your hormone panels done? Because I usually go through this company Wellness FX, but I do like a whole blood panel, and they don't
mhm.
have that out here right now. So I was thinking about doing one of those mail-in kits.
Yeah, so I've done it a few different ways. I've done it through, like, a traditional doctor, I've done it through a naturopath, I've done it through a company called Inside Tracker.
Mm.
And I have a discount code with them if you want it. It's Biohacking Brittany. And they do like nutrients and hormones. It's quite pricey, but it's really, really in depth. But you could also do like Everlywell, which has a bunch of tests, and you can kind of choose like hormonal, like female hormonal panel. You can get your thyroid tested, all sorts of things. So Everlywell is probably the best like international one, I would say.
Okay. Yeah,
Hmm.
the Inside Tracker, I you are like one of like 4 people I've heard in the last week talking about it. And so I'm really curious. Yeah, I'll take a look and kind of see what they have to offer. I think that could maybe be a really great video review too, just to kind of talk about the
Yeah.
differences between these. Because there is no
Mm.
like clear cut, like this is the best service or this is the
Yeah.
best, bang for your buck with these kind of, they're very much like you just have to kind of know people and ask them about their experiences. But
Mhm.
I've done Everly Well in the past for other, health related tests, but I haven't done my hormones with them.
Mhm.
So I'm gonna look and see kind of the differences, and then yeah, I think maybe video review coming soon.
Do it, do it. Yeah. But I bet you your DHEA supplement is producing this because, like, as you know, it's a precursor to either
Hmm.
testosterone or estrogen. And so, because of my skin flare up last year, I'm so careful not to have that in supplements. And in so many nootropics, it's actually added. So I have to be so careful of like which ones I take and which ones I don't because I don't want to be producing more hormones and like throwing everything off.
Yeah, and I think like that was also one of the issues was just like there are sometimes DHEA in some of your like uh standard multivitamins too and I think I
Yes.
might have
Yeah.
just been overdoing it because I have a separate supplement that I was taking, and I'm going to now definitely like not take that for a little bit and see what happens, but I'm also going to
Mhm.
have to go through my cabinet and just make sure it's not in anything else because those
Yeah.
sometimes, in some of these like uh 100 ingredient like supplements that you take, like you never know how much you're actually getting of one thing, and sometimes it's the dose that makes the poison, right? It's not like you don't need at any of it, it's just like you have too much already and your body doesn't need any more, so just stop taking this.
Yeah. Yeah. Take a break and like
Take a
kind of
break.
adjust and see. So are there any biohacks that you've tried that you didn't love? Like I get this question a lot when I go on
Mm.
people's podcasts. And I kind of have a few that I always talk about, but I'm so curious for to hear like your answer.
Yeah, I have I've tried a lot of things that I have maybe like not loved, but after I do my review, like I never pick them up again.
Oh my gosh.
That's probably a clear-cut sign that the thing is really not working. And
Mm,
so like for instance, I'm trying to think back. I've done so many like reviews. I think a lot of the supplements that I've done, I have a really hard time just if I don't feel like the supplement is really working, and I'm pretty intuitive on how I'm feeling every day. So I was taking this like one brand's like nootropics called Find My Formula, and I just was like not feeling it. And so I looked at all the ingredients. I was like, okay, but I'm probably getting most of these things in food anyway. Like I get choline from eggs, and so I just like I threw that out. Like I'm done with this. I had this one product which this is probably a little controversial, but whatever. I don't care. Like it's called the Happy, and
yeah, I have it.
you have it, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
So I just don't think it worked for me, and I'm not saying that it doesn't work for everyone. I'm just saying that maybe my sensitivity to the frequencies that they use is just, it was much lower than maybe
Mhm.
somebody else. And so, funny thing though is I didn't throw it out. I brought it with me here because I thought maybe I just was living in an EMF soup in California, and
Mm,
therefore the frequencies just weren't affecting me in the same way. And so maybe if I move to when we move to Hawaii, I will feel it. Well, I've tried it for a couple of weeks now. It's it's still not working. So
mhm.
I think that like maybe the technology is there to an extent, but I think some of these companies, the problem is that they're trying to brand it too big. They're trying to make this sound like a cure all for everything and it's going to work for everyone. It's
Mhm.
not the case. Like there were very few things aside from like my 8 sleep cooling mattress pad, my Aura ring, that I'm like I cannot live without these things because they have such
Right.
a huge impact on my life and quality of life. But most of the other things, I'm just like they're great, they're nice to haves, I use them when I need them, but something like the Happy is like, it's so expensive, and if it doesn't work immediately and you're not feeling some type of impact, then I'm not gonna do it. I'm not gonna try it. I'm not gonna like, continue to try to make it work because then I'm just sort of placeboing myself. So I've had those situations. there's definitely things that I just kind of use very infrequently because I haven't made them more of a priority or more of a habit. And for those, I think it's like some of the like VNS or like the vagus nerve stimulation devices that I have.
Mhm.
I'm testing out one right now that I actually really like, but it's like really sort of hard to quantify. So here's like sort of the to kind of wrap things up in this territory is like the things that are really hard for me to quantify or anecdotally feel right away are sometimes the things that just don't stick around. And
Yeah.
so if I can accurately measure do I do X thing and it has Y result, I'm probably feeling good about it. If I
Mhm.
can't measure it or, and I'm not saying don't do things that don't make you feel good. That's not at all. But it's just like some things are just really, really hard to quantify and require a lot of work to do them. And if that is the case, it probably is not going to stick around in my routine for very long.
Mhm, mhm. Yeah, I felt the exact same way with Happy when they sent me one. I think the science is cool, and I think the idea is cool, and it's honestly really complex for me to even understand. Um,
I sent their articles to 4 of my best scientific, like, analyzing friends, including, like, somebody who is, like, a physicist, and he was like,
yeah,
"I don't get this."
yeah. Oh my gosh, yeah. So even like when I've used it, I haven't noticed a difference either. Um, And I'm the same way, like, I just have a hard time bringing in these biohacks that require, something to be charged, something to be timed, and another app on my phone, and I just if I don't see the benefit, it's exactly like you said, if I don't see the benefit right away or with by the end of the session, like, I'm not gonna use it again. Like, it's just how it goes. Or maybe I'll try it a few times, but yeah, there's a lot like that. And honestly, like, even red light therapy, like, I kinda go back and forth on this, like, I'll go through months of using it every day, and then I'll go for, like, 8 months without using my device because I'm like, "I don't even know what it's doing." Like, I don't see a difference in my skin. I don't see a difference in my energy, like, I don't feel any different. How much EMF is this, like, emitting right onto my face? Like, I don't know, I'm not gonna use it. So, I don't yeah, it's pretty controversial, but yeah.
I actually I can't believe I forgot about the red light thing. Probably because it's one of those things that I too have had a very similar relationship. In fact, I basically use my red light just to like have red in the house in the morning when I'm like getting ready because I usually wake up at like
Mm,
5. And so rather than turn on like all the bright white fluorescent lights in my room, I'm just like,
yeah.
okay, cool. I have this red light panel. I'm just going to turn it on to like illuminate part of my kitchen. So I don't actually like use it for its therapeutic benefits anymore because
Yeah.
I didn't
Yeah.
feel it either. But then I was like, well, I don't like it's past its warranty, so I might as well get some use out of
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Oh, that's funny.
I feel like sometimes I just put it on me and I'm like, is this actually working?
Yeah.
Or should I just go out in the sun? Right. And that's also the other thing. It's like if you can just get it
Mm,
naturally,
yeah.
right? It's great for like red light is a great example of like if you live in a place where you are literally like it's dark for months at a time, like New York. This could be maybe helpful for like
Yeah.
seasonal affective disorder. But like I have so much sunshine, I don't even know what to do with it. So
Oh my god.
so I'm like, this is useless and pointless for me to like try and like do this like artificial like supplement in my house when I can just go out and get it naturally. So that's another
Yes.
thing that I'm starting to learn and get more comfortable with too.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. Um, and yeah, I just like I respect that. So, are there biohacks or like technologies that you use, frequently that do really work for you and you like swear by, like other than like the Aura Ring, which is like an obvious one, but like yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And I have like really like coming out here and kind of moving into this new space and being very like picky about what biohacks we actually brought here. I have now
Mm,
created this like sort of sanctuary, like my little biohacking patio outside. I have a vibration plate that I think we actually found it at Bulletproof Labs because we thought it was the coolest thing where you stand on it and it like vibrates at 30 hertz and it is phenomenal. Like you can feel your
cool.
entire body vibrate and I do it pretty like regularly. Like I say I do it like once a day, but I'm more like on that like 2 or 3 times a day just for a couple minutes because I feel like it actually does help with muscle tension and just waking me up. So I do that. I love my inversion table. Definitely it's really great for like neck and back issues. I have a trampoline and we have cold therapy. So we have like a little cold pool that we made, but it gets too hot out here in Hawaii. So we're gonna have to just take our ice and put it in like our actual bathtub. But I love cold therapy. I think the benefits are
Nice.
amazing. And we're getting an infrared sauna, and it should be coming
Nice.
soon. Yeah, we just ordered one, so I'm gonna be doing that. I told Jasper, my fiance, I was like, "You're probably gonna like look for me during the workday, and I'm just gonna be like in there, like it might be turned off, but I've been wanting a sauna for so long that I'm probably gonna use it like every single day for the next 6 months. Not even kidding. I
Nice,
might
nice.
I might have to do like a YouTube video, like why I decided to move my bedroom into the sauna. But yeah, so those are kind of some of like the bigger ticket items. Obviously, I had mentioned before, like the 8 sleep is fantastic. I can't imagine like living in an environment that is as hot as Hawaii and only relying on AC because the having a cooling mattress pad was just a game changer.
Oh,
And I have like all this sleep data from like the month that we were out here when we didn't have it and we didn't have AC and it was like I maybe got 5 minutes of REM sleep. And
l
I was like, why? Yeah,
damn.
it was so the drastic difference. And again, this kind of comes back to like, why do we measure? Why do we have these data points? Is because it's great to see like things work and things don't work. And so that's something that I didn't even think about how much I actually needed it in my life until I really saw what it was like to not have it in my life. Yeah.
Right.
So
And so for that one, for that mattress, like, how does it stay cold?
they actually have this cool little like pod that you fill up with water, and it takes like a
Oh,
ton
okay.
of water. Like we used to have the chili pad, and we would have to frequently fill that one up. But the 8 pod actually gets like I want to say like a week, and then it has these like kind of tubes that run behind your mattress, and then there's this like beautiful mesh fabric that it's woven into, so you don't actually feel the water underneath because that would be weird, and I really don't like the idea of a water bed. um, so you don't feel it, you don't hear it. It just you. But what's great is like you actually have an app and you can program it to basically go off at the same time every night and as cold as you
Mm.
want it. So I am very type A in this way, and I have it like starting at like -10 and throughout. And then, what's great is like it also like you can kind of see where your different stages of sleep are. So if you know that like, well, as I'm starting to get towards REM sleep, probably don't want to be too cold or too hot because either or is not going to help promote REM sleep. You really kind of almost want to be neutral. So that's why I usually end my night somewhere around a neutral setting. And then I like to wake up a little bit colder. So it'll actually, there's like a vibration and a thermal alarm built in. Now, the EMF situation with it is actually pretty low from what we've looked at, but it does
Mhm.
require like a Bluetooth or Wi-Fi connection just to get everything set up. So I will just put that as a disclaimer, but I haven't had
Good.
any issues and we've tested the EMFs.
Good, good. That was my first thing I was thinking about. I was like, how is this keeping you cold? And is
Hmm.
it plugged in or is it like what is it doing? Because that would be really bad just to like sleep on something super like electronic like that.
Right.
But the water definitely makes sense. And yeah, that's one I haven't tried is like the chili pad, or something like that, like something cold, and we don't have AC in our place right now, and I really want AC. It's not really a popular thing in Vancouver because like it doesn't get that hot, but in the last like 4 or 5 years, kind of like with climate change and everything that's going on, it has been getting really hot. And so now kind of like the buildings are kind of catching up anyway. So it's not very common to find AC here. So like doing something like that would be very helpful, especially for the summer coming up. I should really look into it.
Oh, absolutely. And at the end of the day, like your sleep is the time your body is recovering and recharging.
Hmm.
And it's like I would rather be really hot during the day, but have my sleep dialed in so precisely, because that's when your body is doing so much healing and so much recovery. So like I would prioritize that for sure. And yeah,
Yeah.
chili pad is a great place to start. They have I think they have another thing like the Uller. There's so many now on the market, but yeah, I mean, the only ones I'd ever tested were chili pad and 8 sleep, and I just like the programmability of the 8 sleep. I think there's something nice about just setting and forgetting things.
Yes. Oh my gosh, I totally agree. Well, thank you so much for coming on this podcast. Like, this was so fun just to talk with you again. Like, I know you've had me on yours, but I just love connecting with you. And if people want to know more or watch your YouTube videos, like, where can they find you?
Yeah, and likewise, it's always just amazing to chat with you, Brittany. Just kind of like, either on record or off record, and I think
Yeah.
we just have such a great connection. And so I am totally holding you up to that, female biohacking meetup, and then
Yes. Oh my
yes,
gosh.
that will be super super fun. But yes, where folks can find me is very easy. Just Katie type A on my YouTube channel. And I also have a podcast called Beauty and the Biohacker. I co-host with Rachel Varga. You can find me there. I'm on Instagram at Katie Type A, all one word. And then, yeah, my website is also the same thing as my name.com. So you can go and hit me up there. And yeah, I'm always, always down to chat, especially like, more females that want to come on, more men. Like, I don't care. I'm happy to talk to anybody. But yeah, I really like this idea of doing kind of like a female biohacking meetup. So if you're interested, just hit me up, hit Brittany up, and we'll try to get something going in the next year.
Yeah. Yeah, that would be really epic. Future plans I think are being made right now. You heard it here first, folks.
Yes, we're not manifesting it, we're femifesting it.
We're manifesting it. Yes. Oh my gosh, I love that.
I did not make it up. My friend Kyle did, so I got to give credit where credit's due. But yeah, I heard that once, and I was like, oh, that's cute. I like that. I'm going to use that sometime. So that was a perfect
Yes.
example of using that.
Perfect. Okay. Well, I will put all of that in the show notes and on my website so people can find you. And thanks again for coming on. This was so awesome.
Right back at you, girl. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for tuning in today. As always, feel free to screenshot this episode and tag me if you'd like me to respond. I really hope you enjoyed it and learned something new. If you have a question about your health, my DMs are always open and I'm currently taking new clients. Thanks and see you next time.